Have you been feeling a sense of dark foreboding, hopelessness, fear about the future? When you look out, things that have brought you joy in the past now bring you no joy. The traditions, the family gatherings, there just seems to be something that is wrong. Wrong, like being in a place that you don't belong. You can't put a finger on it, but something is just wrong. There's a lot of us that have been fighting tooth and nail, whether it be making content or bringing awareness, trying to convince people to get back to the way things were. If we could just get back to the old days, if we could just vote the right people in, if we could just turn this ship around, things will be back the way they were, so good. That's kind of been my mindset, and I think a mindset of a lot of people. Yesterday, I was feeling particularly gloomy and black-pilled about this and just the hopelessness of it all. I just find it's even difficult sometimes to even get up and do anything because it just seems that there's just no purpose and no reason for it. This was the first time that I can remember for years and years, maybe decades, where I didn't immediately after breakfast go into work. And I thought, I need to think about this. I need to differentiate what are my thoughts, what's my reality in the world that I live in, and what is propaganda. How much of my feelings and thoughts and ideas are coming from what really is, or compared to what other people want me to believe and to feel. I sat down here in front of the wood stove for 2 or 3 hours and just thought deeply on this. What is this? What's going on? How come I can't put a finger on this? And the conclusion that I came to is this, is that those times that so many of us want to get back to, were not good times. And that God has something in store for us that I believe is going to be better. But you can't see it when you're in the midst of it. Analogies are tiresome, I know that, but I think many of you can relate. One of the most difficult things that you can do is it's been joked about as a couple, as a married couple, is to enter into a remodel. When you have to tear up your house, and many of us have been in that situation multiple times, or you're going to develop a piece of property and you went from living in a beautiful home in a suburb and ease and comfort, and now you're living in a borrowed fifth wheel or a trailer while you're trying to develop a piece of land. And when you're in the midst of that, and it's in the middle of winter, and you're shoveling snow off your fifth wheel because you're afraid that the roof is going to collapse, it's hard to see the decisions that you made were for the best. But if you persevere and you get through that, on the other side of that is something so much better than living in that moldy fifth wheel with your family all cramped into one spot. There's a shop and a home and everything you dreamed of on the other side, but it's going to take some time to get there. When I think about those good times that we all want to get back to, let's talk about that a little bit. Even let's say 10, 20, it doesn't matter, 30 years ago, my generation, Gen X, we've never been free. We talk about all this nonsense as Americans about freedom and I can do this and that and how we have this and we have that and the rest of the world doesn't, but that's never really been the case if we really look at what's been going on. You realize, just think about it. You can't go anywhere, travel to another country without someone's permission, without filing and paying, getting a document, a passport, approval to go there, without standing in line somewhere and suffering the indignities of the TSA just because you want to go visit family in another land. You can't build a house on the land that you sweat and shed blood for, that you put everything into. And let's say you get that land and that house and you do the right thing and you don't mortgage yourself to the teeth and you pay everything off and you own it free and clear. Now I'm going to be a free man, correct? Not so much. Let you miss your property tax payment and see whose land that becomes. And there will be men and women that will gleefully come to your abode there, your land that you own free and clear, and they will gladly shoot you or at least throw you in a cage and won't think twice about it. And there are a lot of different rules and laws, and there's no law in this country that's so small that there isn't a man or a woman wearing a clown outfit that will come in force with guns and forcefully make you do or kill you for violating any one of these laws, big or small. That's the reality. You don't have freedom in this country, and you haven't been free, and we haven't been free for a long, long time. So let's just disperse with all of that. The good old days were not all that good. My dad was a boomer, and he used to talk about, and I'm not blaming him. This is just the nature of things. We forget how oppressed we were, and we forget how bad things were over time. A woman going through childbirth, I've heard, I've seen it, it's a difficult thing. And once, when they're in it, they'll say, never again. Or, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. But you let time go by, and, the child is 6 months, a year. That goes away. And you forget that, and you start to long to go through that process again. It's just something that's been built into us. It's a fortunate thing. We have the ability to go through difficult times, and then when we look back on them, maybe not necessarily look at the bad, but maybe more so the good. And I think that's where nostalgia comes from. I don't think that we need to be nostalgic about the past. I believe that the future is going to be bright for us, especially those of us who are remaining faithful to God. We have to be very careful, those of us that are people of the book, to not really focus our attention on the evil people that are doing terrible things in our own government and other governments and in corporations, and really get focused on that. The good book tells us that be careful what you say about your rulers and your leaders, because God has put those people there for a specific purpose. What purpose could that be? Why would a loving God put someone in a position of power that is oppressing, killing, murdering, or bringing down policy that is against his will and against the law of God? Well, he uses instruments that we don't understand. He uses people in all forms to bring about changes. He can see the big picture. We can't. We're in the midst of it. If you were to wake up in the middle of the night and the wind and the snow has come and collapsed your fifth wheel, and you think, oh, this is my world, this is my environment, this is terrible, I have to do everything to change this. Well, you don't realize that this is a means to an end. This is not permanent. This is something that we must go through to have something better. The reason why, in my opinion, there's so much, our government and corporations are so much against the people, New World Order, whatever you want to call it, is because this is a last gasp. This is a death rattle. This is a system that has been created to benefit a very few and oppress a great many. Even you in America, you taxpayer, wage earner, I get it. You think that you've had freedom, you've never had freedom. They just gave you enough crumbs to keep you occupied so you didn't see the big picture. But now they've gotten so greedy, and they're taking so much advantage, and they realize, well, if one is good, two is better. It's gotten to the point where we're reaching our breaking point, and God has allowed this to happen. That's the only thing that is going to wake up the normies, to tip the scales so that God can bring in something better, a change, a new government. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can't foresee. I don't have a crystal ball. But I do trust God has a better plan for us. So, beloved, I want you to remember this. Don't cling too hard to the way things were in the past. If you were to sit down and really think about it, think about how few freedoms you had, how oppressed we've been, how that more than half of the money that we sweat and work for is given to a government, or not given, forcefully taken at the threat of jail or death, and we have no say in whatsoever where it gets spent. If someone were to come to you and take half your paycheck and every month under threat of a sword or punishment or imprisonment, and then just go off and just throw it away frivolously, or even use it in ways that are against your beliefs or against the benefits or against the interests of your family, how long would you tolerate that? Yet we go back to work, pay the taxes over and over again, and then we fight to maintain this system that has held us in slavery our entire lives. Beloved, just let it go. There's a lot of you out there thinking that violence is the key, that we need to physically overthrow governments or peoples or institutions and make things right, reestablish things. I don't believe that that's the way that's going to be. I don't advocate violence. I think the best thing that we can do is to remain faithful, trust in the fact that God has a plan, and claim his promises. Remember, beloved, he said that before the Lord knows what you have need of before you even ask. and that he's not a God of fear, but of power and of joy and of a sound mind. If you are calling yourself a person of the book and you're constantly in fear and anxiety, you're on the wrong track. We have a promise. We have a promise in the good book that this is not the case. When you find yourself in that situation, something's wrong. It's your way of thinking that needs to be changed. I think the future is this. Let the thing collapse and fall under its own weight. It's already happening. It's happening very quickly. There will be new economies. There will be new opportunities. There will be things that spring up that are going to be better. Yes, it's going to be difficult. It's a difficult thing to leave the comforts of a home that's already established, even though it's too small and you don't have enough room and you don't have a proper shop and it's not great. But you're like, well, you know, I'd rather live in a cold. What's the verse from the Pink Floyd song? Cold comfort for change. Would you exchange that? Would you exchange cold comfort for change? Yeah, I don't like my situation. I'm paying all these taxes. I have no time to myself. I don't even have enough money to buy a fishing boat. But, well, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to stay in there? You're going to fight to protect that? You're going to go vote harder? You're going to go through the system that has been oppressing you? Or you're just going to bow out? I'm not advocating violence. I don't think that that's the way. I think the way is to stop participating as much as possible. Don't feed into the system. Don't vote. Don't put any faith in it. Let it collapse under its own weight. Let it destroy itself. And eagerly look forward to the promises of God that there's something better coming. And if it's not in this world, and if it's not for me to see it, and it's for me to, then what difference does it make? I've always known this is not my home. I've always known that I've been a pilgrim in a foreign land, like a man behind enemy lines. And there's no reason why we can't enjoy our life and do the best so that we can and occupy until he comes. But don't be so tied to this, beloved. Let it fall, let it collapse, and be ready with open heart and willingness to accept what it is that God has in store for the next level, the next government, whatever that may be, and trust that he has a plan and go about living your life. If you turn off the news, if you turn off the propaganda and you look around you, things have not changed that much. There's still a lot of joy to be found in this world, and it can be found daily. So that's about all I have to say. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers, and we'll see you all on the next video.